Hi all, this is Kevin Bernatz from Doc Beer Nuts Development. I'm actually going to do a short talk or short showing of how to make counters. I figured with all play testers and everyone else having to occasionally make your own counters, I'll just show you what I do, which by no means is the best way to do it, but for someone who has limited artistic skills and so on, I figured this would be just a good idea to show some of the tricks that I've learned in laying out counters and the problems that can arise from it. So the first thing you'll need is cardboard. I generally like just a thin cardboard from the back of notepads. You have a legal size pad or a normal size pad, save the cardboard on the back, and those can be used for laying out counters. Also, if you have the large desk calendars, those are really great because you can get almost 4 counter sheets for a single desk calendar. Once you have the cardboard that you're going to use, the next thought is how are you going to secure the counter sheets. So you'll have them printed out. You can either just print them out yourself, get them at Kinko's or what have you. The other thing that I like to do is I print them on adhesive. This is a full sheet adhesive labels. I think it's Avery. Every now and then Amazon will reduce the price quite a bit as an add-on item, and when that happens I try to stock up. It depends on the size of the game that you're going to be trying to lay out. If it's only got a couple counter sheets, obviously you only need 2 sheets per counters, one for the front, one for the back. If you have a game like Ocean of Fire, which I'm laying out, and you can see there are quite a few counter sheets here that have to be laid out. So trying to do it without adhesive labels would take a lot of time and potentially be very difficult to make sure all the counters are laid out properly. So I print them out as full sheet labels, and then what I'll do is I will secure either the front or the back to the cardboard. Once I have one side secure, I like to cut out around the area that I'm going to mount. So for a full-sized sheet, let's just do one of these. I would cut out right along the edge and try to make it as perfect in terms of the counters and none of the white space as possible. And so then once you have that, so you'll have blank on the other side, you'll have your counters sort of laid out. I'll then take, in this case this is the front mounted, so then I'll take the counter sheets at the back and I'll cut the same exact orientation on the label paper. This allows me, when I lay out the back, everything should be as close to identical as possible, and you've removed a lot of the potential. If you have the printers, sometimes there's a slight off shift, so if you lay them out like this, which I know a lot of people do, and if you have a good printer or are confident that your layout's going to be identical, you could do that. You could just mount this to a sheet, make sure you have one of the corners lined up, that would be your reference corner, then mount the back, again using that same reference corner, and as long as your offset here, so note that this is going to be the offset on the upper left, whereas over here it's the offset on the upper right, but as long as it's centered and uniform, you mount it like this and you cut, you're going to be perfect. I've sometimes run where my offsets are a little bit off center, and then when you cut it out you get where the counters don't match up perfectly. Now I don't think they're ever going to match up perfectly for my print and play, but at least when I do it this way where I've trimmed out all that white space, they match up much better. So then you just sort of pick which corner you want to use. Obviously double check, make sure, okay, I got light carrier 4, light carrier 4. Okay, that's going to be the back and the front. So what I like to do is just partially peel the label paper and sort of fold it back. Again, you get something where I've got the adhesive available here, but I have this part still covered, so then when I'm moving it around to get it in the right location, I'm not fighting it sticking everywhere. I take my reference corner and I line it up, and you're lining up, remember, both directions. And you know, these are playtest counters. They don't have to be perfect, but you want to get them close. So then once I get the top secured and it looks like the side is good, I'll take and remove the adhesive on the back. Make sure you get all the pieces. And then starting at one side, I will again check to make sure my other edge looks like it's going to be okay. Because just because you've lined up the top edge doesn't mean that the sides are going to necessarily line up if you don't make sure it's nice and square. This actually looks pretty good. And then I'll start at one edge and I'll just go down and smooth. Make sure I don't get any air bubbles or anything. And that will be the first counter sheet to then just cut out. And when I cut it, now I'm going to use the scissors here just because I have lots of counter sheets to cut. Depending on your center material and how many counter sheets you're doing, you might want to use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter with a straight edge. You can tend to get smoother cuts and better cuts. These are very high quality scissors. Don't tell the wife I'm using her high quality scissors. So hopefully the cut will be nice and smooth, and I'm just going to do a cut of, I generally cut each section first and then I cut individual counters, and I'm just going to do the top section. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll line up the scissors and then I'll look on the back and see where I'm at. And I don't know if you can see, but actually it looks like I'm a little bit off on the back. So for the back, I'd be cutting through a bit of the counter. So I actually want to drop this down just a little bit, or what I'll do is I'll go on the back and cut along the back line. So like I said, these are playtest counters. If there's a little extra space on one side, not that big a deal. You'd rather have that than if you cut a whole bunch of the numbers off. And so here you can see there's a little bit of extra on the bottom. And then the same thing when I cut separating these, I want to decide, okay, I can go a little bit above this line and not have a problem. Same with over here. So I should be able to just cut right on the line, and the little bit of offset isn't going to be a problem. Let's see what we get here. So as you can see on the back, all the numbers are perfectly legible, and on the front all the numbers are perfectly legible. And because we'll be doing this for each section, any of the offset will be minimized. Effectively you're just keeping it within the section, and hopefully this will make all the counters certainly usable for playtest purposes. So hopefully you got an idea now when you're doing your playtest kits on how you make up counters. Again, the trick I think you want to be careful of is when you're laying the counter sheets out on your cardboard. I highly recommend securing one, and if you secure it with the spray-on adhesive, that's fine, same principle. Secure one side, then cut all the white space out, and cut the same sort of white space out on your back sheet. And then when you secure it, hopefully you'll minimize any offset error that you have. You know, again, if you're confident on your printer and confident that the counter sheets are fully centered, then you can just leave the entire counter sheet and do it. But I know from my experience that when I just do it with the full counter sheet, it seems that the offset is greater than when I've trimmed it before putting the back on. Thank you very much, and coming soon will be some videos on both Ocean of Fire and Engage and Destroy. And I'll get into what to expect from those games. We have the Vassal modules already created, and so I'll go through some playthrough, and hopefully you'll see these upcoming titles shortly. Thank you.